Good afternoon, Honorable President IAAVR, Dr. Asan Singh and Dr. Rishendra Verma. First of all, I would like to convey my thanks to them that they gave me time to speak on one of the very important aspects of veterinary profession. This has a very much relevance to today's topic or the theme of this conference, that is how to make vaccinations more effective, at the same time how to improve health and productivity of livestock in our country. And I take on one of the very vital topic, a challenge we are facing in our country. On behalf of the NGOs who are working in the animal health sector, animal welfare sector, I am representing one of the organizations which works for equine welfare in our country. We are linked to about 2,000 equine owners, and we work at the grassroots. And I am there after my retirement from the army. For past 7 years I am working in this organization, and I have been interacting at all the levels, from international to national and down to state and to the districts and right up to villages. So my experience about the problem which we face in carrying out effective vaccination is one of the challenge, that is how to regulate the paravets. Now everybody is aware that India is the largest holder of livestock in the world, and we have a very important sector, that is livestock sector, which contributes hugely to our national economy. But as far as the veterinary service provision is concerned, which I think the first thing is the vets themselves. Unfortunately, the ratio between a vet and number of animals is so low that I think we have about 50% deficit as far as the availability of veterinary graduates in the country is concerned. Recently, I had opportunity to visit one of the African countries, Kenya, where I was surprised that the system they are following is so good compared to our country. I visited all departments of the organization, veterinary animal husbandry department there, right from the director, national director, right up to the village. And I found that they have got a very good system, that they have a district veterinary officer who is supposed to regulate all private veterinarians and the paravets in that particular district. And they conduct monthly meetings with them, and they carry out refresher trainings for them. At the same time, they use this as a workforce for vaccination. Whereas most of you who are aware of the situation on ground in our country, you find paravets is one commodity which has no registration, no regulation, there is no control over them at all. You will find paravets with 15 days training experience, up to 2 years, quite variable, different names given to these people, and most of them, they take on the job of vets, which is very disheartening. And I think, as far as the productivity of the livestock is concerned, it's a big challenge. And I feel that this is one of the very important points which we have to consider, and the policy makers right from the national level down to the state, they have to take cognizance of this, because this will definitely improve. If we improve some system in this, it will improve the productivity. Now, this is a figure which I have taken from census taken in 2012, but the present scenario may be more grim. There are 50% deficient of veterinarians in the field and about 40% in the training institutions, and there's an 80% deficiency of paravets. This is a very interesting slide. Please have a close look on this. You see the UP is one of the states which has got the maximum livestock in the country. That is 6.8 crores. And they have only one paravet school. Whereas Maharashtra has half of the population of UP, it has got 109 paravet schools. And similarly, Rajasthan has about, as per this data, it is 64, but I spoke to the president of VCI recently. He said there are more than 100. So you will find in some of these states, the paravet schools are mushrooming. There is no check and control on their syllabi. There is no check and control of what is the entry level. There is no field practical experience. And most of the places you'll find people do not come to the college or school and they get the certificates. So this is one of the very, very important area where I think one has to take a serious cognizance of this. Now the challenges which I have tried to spell out, one is disparity of paravet school. They need to have some regulatory system in that. And entry level. In some places you'll find just 10 pass candidate, they get into the school. Somewhere the requirement is graduation. For veterinary graduation it is 10+2, whereas in some of the paravet school you'll find only graduates are accepted. So there is no control, no check on the rules and regulation on running of the schools. Then duration of this curriculum. As I mentioned earlier, from 15 days to 2 years, that is the kind of, duration. Again, there is no stipulation, there is no syllabus, there is no curriculum, there is no infrastructure check on what is required for a school. Then there is no registration. Like for vets, we have a system of registration by Veterinary Council of India at national level as well as state level. But for paravets, there is no check on this. And then there is no differentiation between a diploma holder, 2 years diploma holder, and a community health worker. That is, we call it community-based animal health worker. And there are so many names given to these people, but what is their role as per their qualification, it is not written anywhere. There is no, I think, there is no system in the country. Now, VCI has one of the paragraph related to this, where the directors of the State Animal Husbandry Department, they are supposed to be permitting certain certificate and diploma courses, and the requirement is that these guys are supposed to report to the government vets. But on ground, there is no implementation of this. You will not find any government vet has any control over anybody. Or this is a huge workforce which can be very well utilized for carrying out proper vaccination. I have been working in about 10, 12 states in the country. In some of the states, I find that they do not have enough manpower to carry out vaccination. Especially in UP, I will say, and anybody can challenge my statement, that many places, the people, they throw away the vaccine. And today we are talking about, how to make vaccines thermolabile or thermostatic, but on ground you will find there are no manpower, proper regulated manpower to carry out vaccination. Now, I have a very short time of 10 minutes. I want to finish it fast. These are my recommendations. National regulatory system need to be established. And I suggest that Veterinary Council of India is the right body to incorporate this requirement in their act, where they should make some minimum standards for, education, veterinary education for paravets. It includes the syllabus, it includes the entry-level requirement, includes the monitoring of these institutions and, approval of these institutions, followed by these regulation and these guidelines. The state veterinary council can take on, because they say animal husbandry is a state subject. So let the state veterinary councils supervise all these training institutions and link them with the government vets. And all these people are required to be registered at either block level or district level. And there should be a regular refresher courses for them. And I think with that, I feel personally, it will make a great difference in improving productivity. Today you will find there's a drug abuse by these people. They create infertility problems because of there's no check on them. And that's all I have to say. Thank you very much. Any question? Huh.
I think there's a need to refer to the government of India regarding doing away with the Yojana of this Bhopal Metro or Pashumit. A 10-pass person who is supposed to carry out artificial insemination is not made to take semen to the genital area.
Yes.
He has to learn about the rectal palpation. And rectal palpation is no game job. It's a skillful manipulation. He has to feel the female genital area first. He has to feel the ovary.
Yeah, I agree with you. Yes. I totally agree with you. Yes, yes, yes. That exactly why I want to convey that there's a big challenge in our country, and I can assure you with my experience, I have worked for Army 36 years and 7 years I'm working with 43 years I am also a fairly senior vet. My practical experience is that we are ruining our livestock by allowing this. And this is a forum where I feel that we all must think over how to rectify this. And these are the policy makers at every level need to look into it. I have requested Dr. Verma that to include this.
This
May I request you, Dr. Verma, in your proceedings of today's this thing, you may kindly mention so that we have discussed this. This is also a forum. And if it is included, we'll take it forward. Even yes. Yeah, even this we have got from the World Veterinary Association also, the same subject.
Sir, this is being recommended, is being noted that, as being pointed out. And thank you very much for your nice lecture, sir. We cannot have many more questions. Thank you very much. We move on to the next presentation by Dr. Seema Surekhabal. Seema Surekhabal. Representation. Okay. On dogs.
Respected Chairman, sir, Uh, Esteemed dignitaries, uh, distinguished guests, a very good afternoon. I just want to clarify first, we are not Seema Suraksha Bal, we are Sasastra Seema Bal, SSB. And we've been doing the same job, border guarding, but on a different border assigned to us. At the onset, on behalf of my Director General SSB Sasastra Seema Bal and 91,000 strong forces, I extend my heartiest greetings and thanks and gratitude to give us this honor to be among yourself. Sitting on the border for almost 12 months a year, we lose the contact with the mainstream veterinary profession. I think these 2 days of engagement will give us to a sense of belongingness to the profession, which we are doing on the borders, which we are leading for securing this nation, for securing the safety of this country. Sir, it's a big spectrum of security, starting from the animal health security to the food security. There lies a minuscule security component that is called physical security of human being. That translates into action on the borders when we guard against the invaders from outside. That translates into action during our police operations when we try to save you from theft, petty crimes. That translates into action while evacuating you in case of disaster. And all in this endeavor of our security forces, one of the oldest and the greatest friend, dog, accompany us. So this presentation would be confining to the couple of slides, jogging you through the various kinds of activities we do, how we do, what we do, in what circumstances, what environment we do these operations. So I just propose to discuss, give this presentation during these 6 broad points: a brief introduction, security scenario, operational requirement in which we are working. Then what are the canine capabilities which we are using as tools that is almost known to every veterinarian of us. Then organization of dog squads in security forces. And lastly, what are the emerging fields and challenges to us. As I said, since the dawn of civilization, dogs have accompanied us as a hunter-gatherer when we were running in the forest, hunting and gathering foods, till today's modern warfare. In the modern battlefield, the dogs are accompanying us through thick and thin of our civilization progress. In highly technical atmosphere of security which is prevailing today, we have almost any conceivable kind of electronic gadgets, sensors, digital equipments, lethal firepowers. So in this high technical field of security, there is only one thing which connects us as an interface between this humanity and the machines. And dog serves as a force multiplier, as this living connect between these two. Now when I say the force multiplier, what exactly is the force multiplier? We ourselves is having force, the digital technology, that technological innovations we are adopting for our security, securing our nation, is a force of kind. But when these 3 combines, then it actually turns into a tangible kind of security. If you can see that man and physical search account only for 32% of the security level, dog search gives you 82%. Physical search plus electronics gives you 47 to 50%. But when we combine all these 3, what we get in turn is that almost 84% of the security. So these are the force multiplier which we are working in our forces. Now coming to the threat perceptions. What are those threat perceptions against which we are working and we are training and equipping ourselves to save this country, to save the humankind, to save the citizen? To begin with, we are living in an increasingly complex world. Though amidst all kind of materialistic progress, technological progresses, we are not living in a very secure kind of atmosphere. Be it terrorism, be it increasing theft, cyber crimes, intrusions, dacoity, rapes. We are living in a difficult times. And in these difficult times, the dog is coming as a force multiplier, as a savior, who is saving our safeguard, who is saving our physical well-being. Then coming to the as per the NCRB Crime Record Bureau, over 3 years, the civil crime has increased almost 1.5 times. Every big city, every big metros is replete with kind of incidences which we often see on the television. So in a sense, the crime rate in the civil domain is increasing day by day. Asymmetric warfare, asymmetry warfare means that when there is a gross disparity between the two opponents in the form of means of weaponry, level of training, nation diplomatic power, then this kind of asymmetry leads to a situation where the opponent, especially your weaker opponent, tries to adopt to those tactics which are easy, which are cheaper, which are easier to adopt and give more lethal power. And in that comes these two, insurgency and terrorism. These two are the tools of weapons of weaker sections. Terrorism has need no elaboration. We are living in a most difficult times of our civilization. Everybody moving out of his domain, out of his safe areas, is not sure whether he would be turning back in same safety or security or not. Every day we hear of this kind of terrorist incident and in big cities, trains, metros, buses. So it's a difficult time. And the terrorist incidents are increasing day by day. There is no abatement whether it's on the international scenario or in the national scenario. On the national scenario, we do have a breather because of late our government has taken very strident approach to deal with the security firmly. But still we have the threat looming large on the horizon. Coming to the insurgency, what we see in Northeast, what we see in Red Corridor area, that is the left-wing extremist affected areas, what we see in J&K is a form of insurgency. These form of insurgency where our own people are motivated against us. They have political ideologies, they have religious ideologies. And pursuing these ideologies, they are going to take on challenges of the security, challenges which we are facing. Then trans-border crimes on Indo-Nepal border, you know, it's open border, that is our mandated border. It's open border, people are free to pass, goods are passing through the border, and that time, these have to be safeguarded. Trade and transit, due to the advent of globalization, I think this right now the world is having almost $6 trillion of trade and transit across the world. That increases manifold the movement of man material across the borders. And when this man movement is across the border is there, we have to be secure. This has to be secured, this has to be safeguarded. I'll just say that in current world conflict scenario, there are disparate source of threats. Drug cartels fighting in Colombia, then insurgency in India. These kind of things which are unfolding in the international atmosphere, international arena, is also having ramification of our national mainstream. Then these are brief security scenario 2017, almost 106 districts are affected. The latest data says that almost 37 districts are severely affected in LWE. Why I'm mentioning LWE? Because our dogs are doing a commendable job in security operation in LWE affected areas. What the force security operational requirements are? Guarding the static establishment, vital security infrastructures, airports, border patrol, search operations, ID detection, area sanitization during VVIP visit, then narcotics detection and trackers. These are the 7 operational requirements we are working with. Then operational requirement in the public security domain is criminal investigation, transportation security, airport, railway, metro, search and rescue during disaster, and psychological rehabilitation of security forces. I just like to add one point here on the psychosocial rehabilitation. During the Afghanistan war, a study was conducted by US, and it was found that the soldiers were badly traumatized due to this war conflict scenarios. But the soldiers who are dealing with the canines, with their canine squads, they were having the least psychological traumatic experience. So in that case, that also helps in psychological well-being of the soldiers. Canine capabilities, these are physical traits, need no further elaborations. Here, the two I would like to mention that advanced memory test, it has been researched that the dogs today, they can recognize almost 1,000 objects at a time. And they can distinguish between these two also. They can remember the names, they can remember the objects. So these advanced memory trait is going to the frontier where we are going to train our canines to work in the field of security. Then extrasensory perceptions, especially during disaster, we see that our dogs especially give our alert. So these extrasensory perception is again helping us. Our patrol is moving. They sense somehow something is going untoward to happen, and they alert the police patrol that there could be some ambush, there could be some raid. So then tactical traits, canine capabilities, I'll go through this. In India, just going to the brief history of this, it was first started in 1952 by Madras Police, followed by Remand on Veterinary Corps. In 1970, BSF introduced this dog training center, and SSB in 2005 was the first force to be sanctioned a dog squad for border guarding duties. MHA has authorized us almost 4 dogs per battalion for border patrol duties. MHA in the increasing role of dogs in security, the MHA has constituted a committee in 2007. The committee has given up over-encompassing recommendations and force projections also, broadly categorized into these 3: authorization of dog squads, authorization of manpower, establishment of dog breeding and training centers across various establishments. Almost 15,000 dogs were required over a period of 10 years. CAPF 8,000 plus dogs. Annual pup requirement was over 2,500, and over outlay was 1230.6 crores. Which are the breeds we are working with? Labrador Retriever, an outstanding breed for all these 6 qualities. German Shepherd, Belgian Shepherd, Doberman Pinscher, Cocker Spaniel, Saint Bernard. So these are the species, which breeds we are working with. The SSB Dog Squad was raised in 2005. We have presently 329 dogs. And our dog breeding and training center is situated in Alwar, Rajasthan. Total 223 dog squads, dogs are working on the border and helping us securing the border in day-to-day operation. A brief introduction about, because as every time we are mistaken by Sasastra Seema Bal is taken as Seema Suraksha Bal. We are from SSB. It was earlier it was known as Special Security Bureau. It was raised in the year 1963 in wake of Chinese war. And it was reported to the PM, worked in the far-flung border areas. We worked in the Liberation Army. It's lesser known fact. We worked in 1771. And in 2001, we were transferred to the MHA. And currently, we are looking after the 1 kilometers of border on Nepal border and 699 kilometers of border on the Indo-Bhutan border. This force is having the distinction of, distinction plus honor as well, to have the first lady Director General, Mrs. Archana Ramasundram, who is the first female Lady Director General. And this special mention is very momentous, because currently we are living in the world of women empowerment, and I think she is one of the embodiment of women prowesses in this field also. This training is beginning from 17 to 23 weeks. We train dogs in various traits: obedience, train, narcotics, explosive, infantry patrol, track, and refresher training of dogs. These are a glimpse of our achievement over last year only itself. Will you please wind up in 1 minute? Sir, just these are few achievements. They are our heroes. These dogs, we also have a sporting event in which dogs participate, and often they pick up medals. We have these 2 heroes. Spencer, gold medalist, and another is Bravo with our Director General at that time, Mr. B.N. Sharma. Now coming to just one brief mention of the emerging challenges. We are looking for some new frontiers also, wherein to make inroad for securing, extending our security capabilities. These are the crowd control, synthetic drug detection, ecstasy, MDMA, ketamine, speed, these kind of new drugs are coming, for which our dogs are not adequately trained. Neither we have electronic snifing machine to detect it out. Illicit liquor detection, some of our states have banned liquor. So in that case, to help imposition of this liquor ban, we have to train our dogs into that also. Underground cable leak detector, gas oil pipe leakage detector dogs, wildlife crime control detection. It's a new field, and I'm glad to share with me that my senior colleague, Dr. Nag from BSF, BSF has made an initiative, and they're training their dogs for wildlife crime detection also. Then arson detection dogs. And lastly, but not least, I would like to end this presentation with a simple quote that whenever I see a human betrayal, I salute my dog. It has been through thick and thin. It has saved us, saving you, this country, and our people. Thank you very much. Jai Hind.
Thank you very much. Sorry, we do not have time, so we'll not have any questions. We switch on to the next presentation from OIE by Stefano.
Good morning, everybody. And how does it work? Is Missouri? No. The Avon last one? No. No. 550. Yeah. Good. So, good morning, everybody. First of all, I want to thank you very much for inviting us. So I'm thanking the Indian Association for Advancement on Veterinary Research and the IAAVR for inviting me here. On behalf of the OIE, we are very happy to participate in this very interesting meeting. I'm here to discuss with you and to explain you very shortly what the OIE is, what our main activities are, and which is our role in research, since one of the main aim of this conference is discussing how to improve research in the veterinary side. So the OIE is the intergovernmental organization responsible for improving animal health and welfare worldwide. We were founded in 1924, so more than 20 years before the United Nations. And we were funded at the very beginning for controlling rinderpest. That was a big issue in Europe at the time, even though it wasn't only Europeans, the members of the OIE then. In 2003, we switched our name and World Organization for Animal Health. And since '98, we are the relevant organization for animal health for the WTO, who says to its member states that all sanitary measures concerning animal health should be based on our standards. So we do have 180 countries now in all the continents. We have only one headquarters, that's in Paris, where I come from. We have 5 regional representation in all the continents and 7 sub-regional representations. Just to let you have a glimpse of where we are based, this is where our regional and sub-regional representations are. The OIE is under the authority of the World Assembly of Delegates that's composed of the delegates of all the member countries. Each member country has one delegate who normally is the CVO, the Chief Veterinary Officer, and these persons have 1 vote each for voting on all the issues concerning the OIE, including voting for our standards. Our main standards are 2 codes and 2 manuals, terrestrial and aquatic, that are the basis for the trade for WTO members. Here is the code. So the terrestrial animal health code and the aquatic animal health code aim to assure the sanitary safety of international trade in terrestrial and aquatic animals, as well as for their products, while the manual of diagnostic tests and vaccines for terrestrial animals and the manual for diagnostic tests for aquatic animals provide an harmonized approach for disease diagnosis, as well as describes internationally agreed laboratory diagnostics and procedure for developing vaccines and other biological products. As you can see, since these are the basis for trade in a safe way between all WTO members, a very important aspect for us is to ensure that we are updated with the most recent scientific knowledge. We have several instruments to be sure to do that. We have 4 specialist commissions, each of one having specific aims and specific mandates. Their main aim is to use the available scientific knowledge to provide studies on the epidemiology, prevention and control of diseases, and to update the standards included in either the code or in the manuals. These 4 specialist commissions are under the authority of the World Assembly of Delegates in any case. And they can decide for updating the codes in special areas to use other groups, build up of experts that are collected for reference centers all over the world. The OIE has its own network of reference centers. We have 311 reference centers all around the world. They are divided in 2 main kinds. We have the reference laboratories, which contains the experts on a specific disease or pathogen. As you can see, they are widespread everywhere. We have some in India as well. And we have the collaborating centers. We have 51 collaborating centers, which which are center of research, expertise, and training on more horizontal issues. So the OE, as I was saying, has a big interest in ensuring the updating and the scientific basis of their standards. This is our last strategic plan that just started last year. And as you can see here, one of the pillars is that, well, I'm not sure you can actually see that, but it's excellence in science. So one of the main pillars on which our activities will be based will be granting that the science on which our standards are based is excellent. Which is why I'm here. I'm working in the Science and New Technology Department, which is one of the departments that are looking forward to ensure the scientific basis of all of our work. And as part of this department, we have been involved in several actions aiming to the improvement of science and research worldwide. One of these was the STARIDAS project. The STARIDAS was a global strategic alliance for the coordination of research on the major infectious diseases of animals and zoonosis. It used to be an European project open to countries outside Europe, so it was built up of several countries, including India. The aim of this big project lasted 4 years was to create a basis for coordinating research programs worldwide to address main issues in the area of animal health and emerging diseases and zoonosis. Here you can have a glimpse of which were the partners of the project. These were the original partners of the project that then were expanded with an activity of regional networking during the project. So the main aim of the project was improving coordination of research activities on the major infectious diseases of livestock and zoonosis, so as to ensure a fast delivery of the control tools that are needed on the field. And another aspect was to improve the networking, so making as a real network for researchers to exchange procedures, information, and scientific knowledge as to improve the efficacy of research. This project was ended in 2015. All the members countries that participated were very happy about it, including the European Commission, that then provided the basis for moving forward to a self-funded network. That's the International Research Consortium, so STARIDAS IRC. This network has a similar basis as the previous one, but has an higher commitment, meaning that all of the countries that are participating now have agreed to have a minimum budget of $10 million over 5 years to invest on animal health. And they agree on delivery target, so they all work toward same objectives. They agreed to coordinate align funding to deliver this target. So it's really a group of funders of research at several levels, both private and public, that are moving together toward the delivery of control tools. And they have agreement to share research results in a faster way inside the consortium. And at the very beginning, there were 16 partners from 13 countries. We have 22 partners now. I will show you a slide with who the partners are in a minute. And overall, the budget of these partners now is $2.5 billion. So we really have the size now to make the change. If we go in the right direction, we can really improve veterinary research in the next few years. So, as I was saying, we decided to move forward to a higher level of commitment. So higher level of commitment doesn't mean only ensuring some funding to research, but mean also committing to the delivery of some real results. So we agreed in the framework of this 5 years, at least 30 deliverables including candidate vaccines, diagnostics, therapeutics, procedures, or key scientific information over a list of 30 or more infectious diseases for animals, including zoonoses. This is the partners. As you can see, there are several European countries, but we have partners from all continents. We have from Asia, we have Japan, we have the US, we have Middle East, we have Israel, we have Africa, Tanzania, we have international organizations like ILRI, International Livestock Research Institute.
Dr. Sridhar, will you please wind up in 1 minute?
Yeah,
You have
no
taken over.
problem. And we have some private donors like Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, we have Zoetis, and we have some organization like the European Medicine, Veterinary Diagnostic, and Health for Animals. So for supporting the activities of this international research consortium, the European Commission funded a scientific secretariat that's now based in Paris at the OIE. That's where we are. And this is what we as OIE are doing to support this strategy. So we are in the executive committee on the International Research Consortium. So we are providing voting on what are the main issues to be addressed. We were involved in the Starides project, and we developed strategic research agendas on the long term on animal health. We will be using our network of experts from the research laboratories, from our collaborating centers, to improve the quality of the research that will be delivered. And we will be helping with our regional networks to make the Starides network more sustainable. This is just in a glimpse what the organization looked like. So you can see there is an executive committee that's taking a decision based on the advice of scientific committee. And we have working groups. We had a meeting, our annual meeting, a couple of months back in Kenya, when we decided which will be the next priorities for research on animal health. And these are the names you can see. So vaccinology, African swine fever, helminths and anthelmintics, PRRS, brucellosis, and bovine TB. On these diseases, we are establishing working groups. There are a collection of main experts from all the IRC member countries. What this working group will do will be to deliver some research gaps, so they will analyze all the available knowledge in science to detect where relevant gaps that are impairing the delivery of important control tools still exist. And based on this gap analysis, trying to draft some roadmaps, as this very simple one that I'm showing. So starting from what we do have at the beginning and setting objectives in the end, defining which are the different steps to be followed to get to the delivery of timely results. What next? What other activities will be involved in? Well, we are working on lobbying for a vaccinology call from the European Commission that will be opened to all other external countries. We are developing research roadmaps on bovine TB in collaboration with the GRAP TB initiative. We are doing the same with the GARA, that's on African swine fever. And we are starting to establish working groups in the other areas that I showed you before. So that's all. That's just to let you know something about what the OIE publications are. Most of it are available freely on the website, so you can just log on and have a look if you're interested. And again, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much. It is requested that all of you, if you have any questions, please discuss with the speakers during lunchtime. It's running short time, so we move further to Dr. Renem for the next presentation.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am Dr. Renam Dabas, and I am representing here Food Safety and Standards Authority of India, which is an autonomous statutory body under Ministry of Health and Family Welfare. And today here I am going to discuss about the food safety law in India and what concerted efforts it is taking in addressing the issue of antimicrobial resistance. The idea is to give you a brief about the background of FSSAI, how the Act came into existence, what are its salient features, what are the major rules and regulations, and new initiatives it has taken, and the regulation of antibiotics and veterinary drugs in food. Food Safety and Standards Act came into existence pursuant to the amalgamation of 8 different food laws. Earlier, there were different food laws for different food sectors, which was restricting the innovation and research. The standards were also very rigid and the poor information to consumer level. So in short, we can say that the food law was fragmented and poorly coordinated. In 2006, Food Safety and Standards Act came into existence with the integration of old laws. You can see the critical shifts which have come after the prevention of food adulteration and now the FSS Act. As directed by the Food Safety Act, Food Safety and Standards Authority of India came into existence with a mandate to lay down science-based standards for the food articles and to regulate their manufacture, their storage, their distribution, sale and import, and to ensure safe and availability of safe and wholesome food for the consumption of human. The FSS Act covers activities across the food chain from the primary production till the distribution till the retail and catering. However, the live animals and animal feed does not come under its purview. And every food business operator comes under the purview and they have to follow the rules and regulations specified under the Act, be it a petty manufacturer or a big food industry or an importer. As we say that food safety is a shared responsibility, and FSSAI always takes into account the considerations, the concerns and opinions of the stakeholders like other government organizations, the research institutes, food industry, farmer organization, and consumer organizations. If we briefly see the components of the Act, at center, the headquarter is responsible for formulating the standards. It is also recently established a risk assessment center, and it is actively involved in the codex activities. I can proudly announce that FSSAI is the national codex contact point, and it is the Secretariat for Codex Committee on Asia, and it's regularly is participating on all the codex committees. The state is responsible for the food safety compliance through enforcement of the Act and surveillance and monitoring. While there are certain food labs for the testing and analysis of food samples, at present we have 121 accredited notified labs. There are 16 referral labs and several state labs. For consumers and food safety operators, FSSAI regularly organizes the capacity building programs, the trainings, and awareness programs. In a nutshell, we can say that the FSSAI organizes around the 3 major tiers: the standard setting mechanisms, the rules and regulations, and the enforcement and surveillance. And we can take up in brief all these 3 major responsibilities. Earlier, there were 6 main regulations under the Act about the licensing and registration, packaging and labeling, food product standards and additives, prohibition, restriction, contaminants, toxins and residues, and referral laboratories and sampling. Now, FSSAI has notified new regulations on health supplements and nutraceuticals, food import regulation, which has this year only have been notified, and food recall procedure. And several of the regulations are upcoming, either they are in the draft stage or in the pre-draft stage, like there is a regulation for alcoholic beverages, the approval for non-specified foods, organic food, there would be third-party auditing, the regulation for the online marketing, the e-commerce will be covered, and recently the regulation has been under formulation for the fortified foods. There is a complex procedure for framework of enforcement. There is headquarters, there are regional offices, then there are state offices. So this is the, in nutshell, you can see the framework. In states, there are food safety commissioner, under which there are designated officers and food safety officers. Then there are food analysts at the state labs and adjudicating officers for resolving the appeals and cases. Their roles and responsibilities have been directed under the Act, and they have to work according to that. For scientific advices and inputs, FSSAI has several committees and panels. Food Authority is the apex body which provides inputs for and technical support to the central and state government in matters relating to the policy decisions. And the chairman, and there are 21 individual members in the authority. Then there is Central Advisory Committee, which is a direct interface between the FSSAI and state enforcement authorities. They advise the authority on the work programs, the prioritization of the work, and identification of the risk and the pooling of knowledge. There is a Scientific Committee, which is for the general coordination and ensuring the consistency in scientific opinions. They are comprised of 6 individual members and the chairman of all the scientific panels. Then there are scientific panels which provide science-based advices and issues, and they recommend science-based standards for food products and food ingredients. At present, there are 17 such scientific panels. Earlier, there were only 9 such scientific panels which are mainly focusing on the horizontal standards, that is the safety parameters, on methods of sampling and analysis, food additives and flavorings, contaminants, pesticides and antibiotic residues, biological hazards, and others. But now, 8 new scientific panels have been introduced considering the food sectors, specified food sectors like milk and milk products, meat and meat products, cereals and pulses, the oils and fats. There is an expert group on fat, sugar, and salt. And recently, a new regulation has been established for fortified and enriched foods. With the advent of the globalization in the food market, FSSAI is in a continuous process of formulating new standards as well as revising the existing standards and harmonizing them with the codex and other international best practices. So, and while formulating these standards, the opinion of stakeholder is of prime importance. Whenever a new standard or regulation is notified, is approved by the authority, it is posted on the web portal for the comments of stakeholders for 2 months. And while finalization and for the Gazette notification, their inputs have been compiled. Now, from 2006 till 2016, FSSAI has completed a decade. And during these 10 years, FSSAI has witnessed a tremendous growth. And it has launched a series of new projects or based on for the consumer guidance and behavioral changes. And these projects are focused, has a 360-degree approach for the food safety and nutrition. Some of the new projects are like FSCAN, Food Safety Knowledge Assimilation Network, which is a knowledge portal and a kind of repository of experts and institutions on sector-specific for milk and products and meat products. It would be a repository of the research articles, theses, and news articles and videos related to food safety. Then recently, it has created a Food Fortification Resource Center, and there is an integrated food standard quick access system on which on one screen you can go and search the various standards, their ingredients, which are restricted or which are allowed for in that particular food product. There is a National Milk Quality Monitoring project which has been launched recently for assessing the quality of milk in organized as well as non-organized sectors. FSSAI has approved the revised guidelines for the scheme of research and development. Recently, FSSAI has sanctioned 13 new research projects and many others are in the pipeline. And now the submission of new research projects have been completely made online, and their financial and technical monitoring will also be done online. Other several projects are like Project Clean Street Food and others. If you are interested, you can go on the FSSAI website. You can read the details about these projects and can participate and can get benefited by these projects. Now, keeping in view the theme of the
Will
conference.
you please wind up in
Yeah.
1 minute, please?
We have taken the antimicrobial resistance as a topic of discussion. Antimicrobial resistance have been recognized globally as a major threat for the public health, and FSSAI, being a key stakeholder, is responsible for taking actions against it by working on the strategic interventions. There is a need for holistic and intersectoral approach, effective coordination among the agriculture, animal husbandry, and veterinary and food sectors, and there is need for international and national collaboration. If we see the international scenario, many international organizations are fostering collaboration to find a way to prevent the antimicrobial resistance. Like Codex and European Union has issued guidelines for the prudent use of antibiotics. OIE has notified a list for critically important veterinary drugs. And the Tripartite Alliance of WHO, FAO, and OIE has made a global action plan for the containment of antimicrobial resistance, which works around 5 major goals, like improve awareness through surveillance and monitoring, reducing the incidence of infection through food chain governance, and optimizing the use of antimicrobial agents, and assuring the sustainable investment. If we see what FSSAI is actually doing is, it has a specified regulation which is working on the MRLs of antibiotics and veterinary drugs, but the notification is still awaited. They are working on that. Soon it will be released. FSSAI is also is a part of core working group and technical advisory group for the National Action Plan, which has been outlined on the Global Action Plan only. Then it is sanctioning the research projects for the development of methods for screening and quantitation of veterinary drugs. There is a manual on methods of analysis of antibiotics and hormones. And for the surveillance and monitoring purpose, recently FSSAI has signed an MOU with Netherlands to provide technical support in developing an integrated basic surveillance program. But this is not enough. And FSSAI is under the obligation for the National Action Plan, and it has to take more actions to overcome this problem. I will take just 1 minute to read out what basic action it is to take, like strengthening the laboratories, designating and developing a network of national reference laboratories, developing an integrated surveillance program, working on development of standards, and most important is strengthening its leadership through national and international collaborations. So in concluding, we can say that we have to work on the One Health approach for the prevention of antimicrobial resistance, and with a belief in the ideology that food safety is a shared responsibility. Similarly, the preventing antimicrobial resistance is also a shared responsibility, and all the stakeholders have to join hands and adopt the One Health approach and spread this message in every corner of the country. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Venom. The next presentation is by Dr. T. Maurya, Director, National Institute of Virology.
Good afternoon once again. I know that the session is running very late. 3 o'clock, everybody is feeling hungry. I'll try to finish in 10 minutes, but I just wanted to mention, this is not mine. Better presentation first. Yeah, that's the one. Yes. I'll just summarize exactly what I wanted to say in that. Go to next slide, please. In the morning session also, we heard many of the senior speakers here. Right now, at least I can see Dr. S.N. Singh sitting here. Even DG mentioned about some of the scenarios that when we talk of these issues, One Health issues, so there are many things, right from soil to sky is the limit because the newly emerging, re-emerging infections and which are not unknowns. So it's a very wide field. But in my presentation, what I'm trying to cover is that which is pertaining to more emerging and newly emerging infections. But not only that, when we talk of vaccine developments, when we talk of diagnostics, which are the two mandates of this workshop, everywhere we require risk assessment. When we talk of biosafety measures, so these figures, most of the people, they know it's a published thing. I'll not spend time. In 10 minutes, I cannot cover that. But there are so many zoonotic infections which are threat for human being. And if I remember that OIE representative sitting here, he was also present at 1.5 months back when the WHO meeting occurred to finalize that which are the priority diseases in Geneva. So out of 332 diseases narrowed down to 10. But that doesn't mean that other diseases, the people are not getting infected. But it's on priority and how this is how public health program moves. I just want to draw your attention here that what we talk about these 37 known so far listed even by WHO. But there are many unknown which are there, prevalent, but we are not aware of, not identified, and people suffer, animals suffer. So this is one thing. When we talk of biorisk measure, very first thing comes is the risk assessment. Thing is, when we go out for picnic, when we go for any such venture, we really make it very sure that we have sufficient petrol in the car, we have taken care of everything. The similar scenario here, every step, whether it's industry or laboratory, every step we require risk assessment. And I can give you a very simple example that our country, in NIV, we established one of the state-of-art facility, BSL-3, in 2005. We established BSL-4 facility, got commissioned in 2013. But this is all because of the Indian expertise, and believe me, 90% it was all depending on the risk assessment on each and every step, that prediction. Now, risk assessment, when we talk of in biorisk management, when we say, the very first thing comes is that what is the likelihood and what will be the consequence. But it is not consequence. It can, if we talk of pathogens, not consequence, it can be consequences, series of consequences. So that's why the assessment, risk assessment is one of the very, very important aspect in all the areas. It's a process which is difficult to explain, but there's a lot of information available on the net. But my experience says that unless you have experts available and the professionals available, performing risk assessment is not easy. Basically, it involves that know what can happen finally if there is a risk and if you come across, and what can be done for the management. Whether how much, what we can do. When there is a risk, we cannot say that 100% will manage. So what best can be done? And risk to the laboratory workers. When I'm coming to the slide, what I want to convey message here today is the laboratories, research institutions. When we see the risk is there in the industry, is there everywhere. But the major risk is in the research laboratory, and this is what is my message here right now. This is what is the risk to the lab workers. Definitely that these are the main modes by which the infections can reach to the people, those who are working in the lab. And when we assess the risk, of course, the very, very foremost important thing is the which agent. Now, it's an open question to all that in all these laboratories, even where we are in IVRI, or whether I give example of National Institute of Virology or any public health laboratory, when the sample reaches to them, do they know that what it contains? The sample might be coming from a patient suffering from high-risk agent to maybe just a agent, which is of public health importance, and there is no high risk to the life or to the community. So that is what agent. And in most of research laboratories where we many times do not know what is the risk what we are handling. And in animal sector, when we talk of definitely those laboratories, pathology laboratories, when the material is being sent to you, which is autopsy material or whatever is coming, we just do not know what we are handling till it is identified. So risk to the laboratory workers, when we see that, first is the frontline workers, the people, those who are working in the lab, they get into trouble. And then how they can get into trouble, these are 4 modes. And the procedures and mitigation methods are available. You need to modify SOPs, you really need to assess it, see that risk is managed properly. The risk to the laboratory worker, it is continuous consequence of disease. I said that it is not only consequence that would, it's consequences, because many times agent is not that something, the person comes down and succumbs to the infection. It doesn't happen many times, but it can happen that cumulative infections leading to something else, affecting to immunological components even in life, which is not and cannot be determined very easily. So when I say the consequences, so it is not a simple thing that is a cause and effect study. Second thing is likelihood of infection, as I mentioned in the earlier one also, that which is being handled and what is being done in the laboratory, particularly in the laboratories where the animals are handled. Then these are 2 more additional components get added in the risk. And chain of infection, once we know the chain of infection, mitigation is very easy. Interventions are possible if something happens. So I'll skip this slide. And this is what is strategic plan, where how it can be done. So what is required in every laboratory and a facility is to first to describe work activity, each and every step, and identify the hazards, that where all hazards are. Now hazard is in the laboratory is not only pathogens. If you have sharp cornered furniture in the lab is also risk. If we look at that in the home, in our houses also we have got this kind of scenarios, which is a risk. But in laboratory, where we have so many agents around, the risk increases. So identifying those hazards, describing the risk, and then risk accessible or not. If it is accessible, then proceed with the work and monitor control. Otherwise, if it is not, then revise or close the project. It means that if certain laboratories, those who are not equipped, those who are not having infrastructure to that level, should not perform that kind of work. And they must assess the risk, which is actually is not being followed in our country. Simple example I'm just giving, that these are even cell lines when we talk of. Very proudly scientists, they say that we are handling normal cell lines, normal tissue culture we are doing, but this is the published information which shows that the normal cell lines have been found having latent infections of these agents, and people can get exposed and can pick up the infections from that. Besides that, possibility of infections, when we say that probability. Now, this is one thing which I want to draw attention to all of you here, that most common when you say that hepatitis B, the probability of infection. If you look at that, even in hepatitis B, it is 10 to 30%. Whereas HIV risk is 0.3. Hepatitis C, it is 0.3. Now, why it is? The question is, somebody can ask, if proper work is not done in the lab, safety is not there, the protocols are not followed, SOPs are not there, on a bench work where the samples are being handled, contaminated with hepatitis B, after 7 days also you can isolate virus from that. Agent factor. Whereas we know that HIV is thermal bile, absolutely, in short time, it's a measles, it will go. HIV, the risk is still low unless percutaneous contact. So what is considered as GMM? I'll skip this slide because I'm sorry that I have number of slides and there are some of the slides I would like to draw your attention. So I'll skip this slide and what is not considered, okay. Now this is one thing which I want to say that we always say that and studied in our college days also. Good microbiological practices, universal microbiological practices. But honestly, if we look at and we assess our own working places, is not followed exactly. These are all points which I don't have to utter. These are very simple common points, but these are not followed in 99% laboratories. And these are the points continued. Why it happens, why it is not followed, there are very few known reasons. I'll tell you in last slide. Now this is something, laboratory infection, now this is database, very well published data which shows that, and I was telling that why research laboratories are at highest risk, because the research laboratories where this is what is happening maximum. So factors to consider in classifying agent. Now the agent factor which I am saying that classification is available, but when we handle clinical samples, we really do not know what we are handling. So here we are helpless. So at this stage, we need to consider that it is a high risk. And if we consider that all those places with the human samples or animal samples are being processed for that, do we have all those infrastructures and SOPs and PPEs in place to take place? So this is what the situation in our country. This risk group is very well known to all of you. I'll skip to that. Now the facility requirement of BSL 2 to BSL 4. Morning also I had discussion with Dr. Manmohan Singh. I think he's not present here. Now they're planning to have one laboratory in Andhra Pradesh, BSL 4 laboratory. This is what I was communicated by Dr. Sen Singh. Now the point is, these are very simple things which is not there in our BSL 2. International standards, if you look at that, then none of those laboratories fit in BSL 2. Honestly speaking, BSL 2, international level, there are hardly 11 laboratories which are in private sector, and there are very few government laboratories which are in that standard. I'm not talking of NABL accreditation. I'm talking of the standard infrastructure of the laboratories which are required for that. So this is what is the scenario of BSL 2. Now you look at that, the three, what exactly? There are very few points I put here. And whenever we talk of these issues, you know, is something like, you know, stars in the sky. There's so much of literature available. So many countries have got several manuals and reference books and things. But what exactly we require to make our garland becomes problem. So that is why I was insisting. I request the risk assessment should be given priority, very, very first priority in all the laboratories dealing with microbial organisms. And the route of infection in the lab, of course, how it can go in the lab, and we were talking about that. These are the objects to the person, contact with media and material, inhalation, incubation, inoculation, and accidental. These are two main areas where this is what happens. Because, right, PP is not used in the laboratories. And then from people to other lab, person-to-person transmission, then again this ventilation and about how many laboratories have air handling units and proper procedures are followed, it's not there. Why air handling units are required? Why we need negative pressure? Because the aerosols which are generated, bigger droplets, they settle down fast, but the smaller one, you know, influenza person sneezes, the smallest particle which you cannot see by naked eye contains trillions of virus particles. So this is what's the importance of that, is the aerosol infection. Wastewater, waste solid, this has been talked. This is one slide which I always like, is from WHO Red Book, that if You really need to assess that. First thing is that what kind of work is being done in the lab, and accordingly you must match and see that these facilities exist, and risk assessment is required for that. This is what is scenario today in our country. We are proud to say that at least with Indian expertise, we have created one facility which is unique in whole Asia. But that was all could be achieved because of risk assessment, very serious risk assessment, even engineering to the lab process, to the even putting staff in that. There are several standards available, so much of literature available online. But I always recommend that the WHO guideline is very useful, specifically meant for developing countries. And responsibility in our country is level 1 is DBT. We heard earlier speaker also. But there is, when we talk of this food safety and other things, that there are something overlapping with DBT as well. So, of course, Board of Agriculture, there are many ministries, many organizations involved in that, responsibility of that. And responsibility at the university, here there are 3 slides I would like to draw attention, is that in the university or institutions, the thing is, we look at that, how many have this Environmental and Health Protection Committee, how many biosafety committees do they have, RDNA committees, these are all from Indian standards, from DBT standards I'm talking of. Human ethic committees, animal ethic committees, biosafety management plans, how many we have? We are lacking many of those. Similarly, if you look at the responsibility of the group leader, because it's very easy to say that it should be done, this is not there. Who will do? Who is responsible? We always talk of top to bottom and bottom to up approach. But the basic issue is the lab managers, and see in international standards also says that lab managers are mainly responsible in such scenarios, HODs, and then they should know the hazard of the risk in that, make the risk assessment, educate all the staff, provide protective equipments, control that the work performed is safe, and check available emergency routines. This is what exactly is not followed 100%. Our DNA guideline is available online, is what in our country, DBT controls that. But this is also, I'm sure that many other places, IBSC committee doesn't exist. So how do we expect that RDNA committee will exist? Now, RDNA committee is something where morning also so much is being talked about, that genomics. Now, anything when we are doing, genetic engineering related, the very first thing is risk assessment and the escalated risk assessment on that. So we do not have infrastructure for that. It's not followed. IBSC responsibilities, IBSCs, many places have seen the IBSC
Dr.
committees are formed.
Could you please conclude now?
Sure, in 1 minute. So committees are formed, but the members themselves are not educated that what exactly they are supposed to do. They are not supposed to see the science in that. They are supposed to see that what the risk involved in that. So this is what is also one of the problem. And individual's responsibility is so much. It's not only the management and the HODs. And why it all happens, basically these are the reasons. Equipment failure 20, unsafe act, this is 15%. And I tell you that worldwide, so much research is being done on risk assessment, and still 15% acts are not understood that how people contact the infection. People get infected, frontliners. And human error is 65%, and because of all these things and how it is taken care is by education, training, experience, motivating, and attentive, creating attentiveness in the people. These are the ways we can reduce it, which doesn't require any funding. And these are the 4 things which are required in the laboratory, personal protective equipment, because 25% is only your infrastructure, 75% is in our hand in the lab, which doesn't require money. And these are those issues. This engineering controls is the money, infrastructure money required for that. And it is taken care this way. These are all doable and can be managed in our country to a larger extent. Wrapping up, I'm just saying that IM is that all potential risk. So identify the risk, assess, and manage. Thank you. This is what actually I just put 2 slides that with ICAR and ICMR, what DG was also mentioning in the morning, and what is now the roadmap and what are the things, how it is going to come up with the emerging zoonotic infections, but I am now skipping these slides. And this is an interesting slide which I always put. When we say that 65% mistakes, human error, so human error, which are the people who commit more. So this is what we identify. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Maurya. I thank Dr. Maurya, the chairman of this session, and also Dr. Karikalan, the reporter. And I also thank all the speakers, those who have made their presentation during the session. Now we shall break for the lunch for half an hour, and the respective session shall be resumed at the respective locations. Thank you.